The latest episode of the gripping crime drama Dark Winds delivers a turning point in the series' ongoing mystery. What begins as a regional investigation rooted in the lands of the Navajo Nation quickly grows into a far-reaching puzzle that leads three determined investigators far beyond their home territory. Lieutenant Joe Leaphorn, Officer Jim Chee, and Officer Bernadette Manuelito find themselves drawn into a complex web of clues, ultimately following a critical lead all the way to Los Angeles. The episode stands out not just for its suspense but also for how it expands the scope of the story. By taking the investigation from the stark landscapes of the Southwest into one of America's largest cities, the show raises the stakes and reveals how the case might connect to something much bigger than the trio initially imagined. Below is a detailed recap of how the investigation unfolds and what it might mean for the future of the series. The investigation tightens on the Navajo Nation. At the start of the episode, the investigation led by Joe Leaphorn continues to unravel clues tied to a complicated series of crimes. For Leaphorn, this case has never been just another assignment. It is deeply personal, tied to the land, its people, and the fragile trust between law enforcement and the community they serve. Leaphorn's investigative style is calm and methodical. Unlike many television detectives who rely on brute force or dramatic confrontations, he focuses on patience and observation. In this episode, those traits are essential as he begins to suspect that the evidence pointing to a local explanation might actually be misleading. While Leaphorn examines the broader puzzle, Jim Chee pursues leads that suggest the case could involve people operating beyond the reservation. Chee's instincts tell him that someone is deliberately hiding their tracks, creating the illusion of a local crime when the reality might be far more complicated. At the same time, Bernadette Manuelito plays a crucial role in connecting seemingly unrelated clues. Her attention to detail and determination make her one of the most important members of the team, especially as the investigation becomes increasingly dangerous. Together, the three officers begin to see a pattern emerging. A mysterious lead emerges. The breakthrough comes when a piece of evidence surfaces that appears out of place within the local context of the investigation. The clue suggests that someone involved in the case recently traveled, or had connections, in Los Angeles. This revelation raises immediate questions. Why would a crime rooted in the Navajo Nation have ties to a massive urban center hundreds of miles away? And more importantly, what kind of operation could connect the quiet deserts of the Southwest to the sprawling metropolis of Southern California? For Leaphorn, the possibility that the investigation stretches beyond their jurisdiction is troubling but not surprising. Throughout the series, the show has hinted that outside forces often exploit the isolation and poverty of indigenous communities. This lead may be evidence of exactly that. Still, confirming the connection will require leaving familiar territory behind. Chee takes the lead. As the team debates their next move, Jim Chee becomes increasingly convinced that the Los Angeles connection is genuine. His experience and intuition push him to dig deeper into the lead, even as it becomes clear that pursuing it will complicate the investigation. Chee's role in the episode highlights one of the show's most compelling dynamics, the contrast between his instincts and Leaphorn's measured approach. While Leaphorn prefers certainty before taking action, Chee often follows the trail wherever it leads. In this case, that trail leads to Los Angeles. However, traveling there is not a simple decision. The team must consider jurisdictional challenges, limited resources, and the possibility that they may be stepping into a situation far more dangerous than they anticipated. Ultimately, the evidence becomes too compelling to ignore. Bernadette Manuelito's critical insight. Before the team can leave, Bernadette Manuelito uncovers an important detail that strengthens the case for pursuing the Los Angeles lead. While reviewing records and witness statements, she identifies a connection between one of the suspects and a business operation based in the city. The link may explain how the criminal activity they are investigating could extend beyond the Navajo Nation. Manuelito's discovery shifts the investigation into a new phase. What once seemed like a local mystery now appears to be part of a larger network. Her work also reinforces the importance of teamwork within the trio. Each investigator brings different strengths, and in this episode, Manuelito's analytical skills prove just as valuable as Leaphorn's experience and Chee's intuition. The journey to Los Angeles. The decision to follow the lead to Los Angeles represents a major turning point for the story. For the characters, leaving the Navajo Nation means stepping away from the cultural and geographic environment that shapes their identities. In their homeland, they understand the people, the traditions, and the landscape. In Los Angeles, they will be navigating unfamiliar territory. The city itself symbolizes a dramatic contrast to the quiet deserts of the Southwest. Where the reservation offers vast open spaces and deep cultural roots, Los Angeles is crowded, chaotic, and constantly in motion. For Leaphorn, Chee, and Manuelito, the transition underscores how far the investigation has expanded. It also introduces new risks. Urban crime networks operate differently from the local conflicts the trio usually faces. If the suspects truly have connections in Los Angeles, they may possess resources and influence that make them far more difficult to confront. Uncovering a larger conspiracy. Once the team begins digging into the Los Angeles connection, the case starts to reveal layers that had previously been hidden. Clues suggest that the crime they have been investigating might be linked to a broader criminal operation, one that uses remote areas like the Navajo Nation as part of its activities. The implications are troubling. If their suspicions are correct, the crimes affecting their community may be just one piece of a much larger puzzle. This possibility weighs heavily on Joe Leaphorn. As a leader, he feels responsible not only for solving the case but also for protecting the people who trust him to keep their community safe. The deeper the investigation goes, the clearer it becomes that the truth may be more dangerous than anyone expected. Personal stakes for the characters. One of the defining features of Dark Winds is how it blends crime storytelling with deeply personal character arcs. This episode continues that tradition. For Leaphorn, the investigation raises questions about justice and responsibility. His dedication to the Navajo Nation is rooted in both duty and personal conviction. If outside forces are exploiting the community, stopping them becomes more than just a professional obligation, it becomes a moral mission. For Chee, the journey to Los Angeles represents an opportunity to prove himself. Throughout the series, he has struggled with balancing ambition and loyalty to his roots. Following the lead to the city challenges him to navigate both worlds. Meanwhile, Bernadette Manuelito continues to establish herself as a formidable investigator. Her determination and insight ensure that she remains central to the team's success, even as the case becomes more complicated. Together, the trio forms a powerful investigative unit. Themes of culture and identity. Beyond the mystery itself, the episode also explores themes that have defined Dark Winds since its debut. The show consistently highlights the cultural richness and resilience of the Navajo Nation while acknowledging the historical and social challenges faced by indigenous communities. By expanding the investigation to Los Angeles, the episode contrasts two very different worlds. The Navajo Nation represents tradition, heritage, and connection to the land. Los Angeles, on the other hand, represents modern complexity and the anonymity of urban life. For the characters, navigating these contrasting environments becomes part of the story. Rising tension and unanswered questions. As the episode draws to a close, the investigation remains far from resolved. Instead, the Los Angeles lead opens new avenues that promise even more twists ahead. Key questions remain unanswered. Who exactly is behind the larger operation the trio suspects? Why are crimes on the Navajo Nation connected to activities in Los Angeles? And how far does the conspiracy reach? The episode ends with a sense of anticipation. The trio now knows that the case is bigger than they initially believed, and that solving it will require courage, persistence, and perhaps a bit of luck. What this means for the season. The decision to take the investigation to Los Angeles signals that the season's story is entering its most intense phase. By expanding the narrative beyond the Navajo Nation, the show opens the door for new characters, new conflicts, and deeper revelations about the forces at play. At the same time, the heart of the series remains the partnership between Leaphorn, Chee, and Manuelito. Their teamwork, loyalty, and shared determination continue to drive the story forward. As the mystery grows more complex, their bond may prove to be the most important asset they have. Final thoughts. This episode of Dark Winds delivers a compelling blend of suspense, character development, and cultural storytelling. By sending Joe Leaphorn, Chee, and Bernadette Manuelito to Los Angeles, the show dramatically expands the scale of its central mystery. What began as a local investigation has become something much larger, one that may reveal hidden connections between distant places and powerful forces. For viewers, the journey promises even more intrigue, danger, and emotional depth as the story continues to unfold. And if this episode is any indication, the truth waiting at the end of the trail may be more shocking than anyone expects.